feel the breeze, the atmosphere. God's changing just for me. I hear the sound of abundance of rain. Then I know my season's gonna change. I see the clouds, I feel the breeze, the atmosphere. God's changing just for me. And I hear the sound of abundance of rain. I know my season's gonna change. Come on and say it. I see the clouds, I feel the breeze, sweet breeze, the atmosphere. God's changing, and I hear the sound of abundance of rain. And I know my season is gotta change. Yes, declare and decree it. Now listen, I know you've been waiting for a long time, waiting for your change to come, crying out to God, Lord, how long until you heal me of this disease? How long, oh Lord, until you deliver my family from living paycheck to paycheck? But don't you give up, no, because God told me to tell you, He's heard every prayer you prayed. Your help is on the way. Lift your voice and sing. Yeah. It's my new season. And God made me a promise. He said it in His word that it would be. And He said if I don't give up and don't give in. No. His promise I believe. It's my new season. It's my new season.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City. And now on FM translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily those of WEHA, Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM. We Have Gospel, Spread the Gospel Inc., or any of its sponsors.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City. And now on FM translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City.
If you just tune in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. It is a beautiful day outside, and we are live in the studio on today. And certainly if you want to call in, you can today at 609-641-8870. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Hawks Family Businesses, who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And also Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. And last but not least, God's Gift, which is a division of Kingdom Academy. They give out clothes and food on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month right in Pleasantville, New Jersey. Well, there's a lot of things going on, and I want to make sure that my listening audience is totally aware of what's going on in the community. I take pride in doing that. So let's get started with what's going on. But first, I want to say happy Rosh Hashanah to all of my listeners out there for that. Enjoy your holiday coming up. I know it starts 29th and goes to December 9th. So I want to make sure that I said that to all of my listeners that were out there listening. Also, there's going to be a benefit for James and Yvonne Knox, who had a fire in Egg Harbor Township and lost their entire home, cars, everything. And there's going to be a benefit on Monday at the Second Baptist Church, 110 IS Cole Plaza in Atlantic City, and is being sponsored by Bishop Charles Lyles and the New John Howard Gospel Caravan. And certainly we want to be there and support the Knox family, who has been involved in the community. As you know, Reverend James Knox, he is a principal at the New York Avenue School, and his wife Yvonne, who I went to school, my classmate, works at Shore Memorial as a nurse. And it was just devastating that this happened to them. And certainly as the community, we want to give back to them and rally behind them and give them some support that they need during this time. And some people will say, they had insurance. If they got insurance, and the insurance, I'm sure, will kick in. But you need things before the insurance kicks in, especially when you've lost every single thing. You have absolutely nothing. And so I want the community, if you're listening to me, to go out and support them at Second Baptist. I intend to be there, good Lord's will, on Monday at 7 o'clock, and to give them some encouragement and let them know that the community loves them. We love James and Yvonne Knox, and we certainly want to go out and support them. The election is coming up, and it's coming up on November the 5th, excuse me, and the deadline to register to vote is October the 15th. Now, it's important. Now, I had told y'all before that if you had a mail-in ballot, no, I said if you moved, if you got married, if you changed your name, you have to go and you have to take responsibility and go and change your stuff. It's not an automatic. It doesn't automatically happen because you moved. No one knows that you moved and left the area. So you have to do that on your own. I believe you can go online and do it, but you can call the Atlantic County Clerk's Office at 609-345-6700 and ask for the Atlantic County Clerk's Office. Okay? Now, what I did not know or misled you in the vote by mails. If you have received a vote by mail because maybe you voted by mail in 2017 or 2018 and you decided you didn't want to do that this year, if you didn't make that change before September the 13th, you already have an automatic vote by mail. There was a deadline and a cutoff for you to make that change to go to the polls. Me personally, I take my soul to the poll. That's just what I like to do. I like going in the booth. I like signing my name, and then I just, then you giving me my ticket, and then going to the curtain and closing it, and then boop, and then walking out. That's what I like to do. Now, but there's more than one way to cast your vote. However, I do want to say that if you go to the polls, your vote is sure to be counted. All right, there's a small possibility, and I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying there's a possibility if you forgot to check something, if the signature doesn't look right, if you drop coffee on your ballot, it might not be counted. and you think that you voted and you didn't. All right. So, I mean, you did vote, but it's not counted. So it doesn't mean anything, you know? So I've seen thousands of mail by the ballots, the mail-in ballots. I've seen thousands of them, hundreds of them. I shouldn't say thousands because that's exaggerating. Hundreds of them thrown out, okay, because of something simple. So if you're not sure how to do it, I think you can go over to the clerk's office, and I'm not sure. I believe they have a voting booth or something. They can show you what to do. They can show you what to do to make sure your vote is being counted. Because sometimes you go out of town, or you got a vacation, or an emergency happens. You're in the hospital. I mean, it's just something happens with your kids, and you can't get to the polls. Although they're open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., something could happen. So there's other ways to do things. Years ago, people rode horse and buggies. Now they're driving cars. Although, depending on what part of the country you go into, you might see a horse and a buggy, and that's their preference. But things have changed. And so, with that being said, make sure, don't assume that just because you voted in 2018 that your name is back in the books and you can go vote. Because if they mailed you that mail-in ballot, you cannot vote at the polls. When you get there, there's going to be a little stamp on there saying that you got a mail-in ballot. And you're going to say, I didn't vote. And you're going to get all worked up and upset with the poll people who have absolutely nothing to do with your name not being in the book. So now, all right, so I can talk about it this year because I'm not running, so. But I want to make sure that if you're out there that your vote is being counted. And also, the last day to apply for a vote by mail ballot is October the 29th. That's the last day to do that. And then, last but not least, you can go into the clerk's office and vote, the county clerk's office, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and vote in person by mail-in ballot. And that's the Saturday before the election. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that. Also, we want to congratulate, well, he doesn't know me, Tyler Perry, but he got a star in Hollywood. So I try to not only bring local information, but also things that are going on in the national front. And I think it's just nice. It's nice to encourage people or be proud of people when they're doing something in the community. Last but not least, before we go into our interview, because my guest is here, I want to make sure, what was I going to say? Oh, make sure that you are going to check out the candidates. They're having a lot of candidate forums. Go and find out. They're being advertised on Facebook. They're being advertised in the newspaper. There may be flyers or something going around on social media. And go out and meet your candidates so you can make a quality decision, all right, on who you want to represent you in your municipality or in your county. You won't know that if you don't go out and check them out. Go to your school board meetings. Go to the freeholder board meetings. Go to your council or committee meetings and find out what's going on. I got to show up at mines in Hamilton Township because I did not know. And I should have vetted this before I put this out here, that the Hamilton Mall is going to be closed down and they're going to be making condos out of them. So I did not know that. And Macy's is still going to be there. So I have to fact check that, and I'm going to bring it out there. Normally I've vetted before I put it out. But I was having dinner and minding my own business when someone said, well, the Hamilton Mall is getting ready to close down. And I said, you know what? I have not been to a township meeting in a minute, so I'm going to have to show up to make sure I know what's going on in my township. And that's the same thing you have to do in your municipality. You won't know what's going on if you're not there. Well, we're going to move on now, and I am so excited, and y'all know I say this every week because I'm always excited when I have guests in the studio. I met Mayor Jack Glasser when I was on the campaign trail, I believe in 2017. And on and off, we've had conversations when we would see each other. And I just, I like him. He's a nice person. He's a nice person. So I invited him on my show because we need to know what's going on in Summers Point. And he is the mayor of Summers Point. So just in case you don't know who Mayor Jack Glasser is, I would like for him to tell us a little something about himself.
Well, good morning, Thelma. It's really great to be here with you, and I have been honored to have your friendship since we met during the campaign trail. And we are now co-workers
Yes.
at the Atlantic County Institute of Technology, where I'm on the security staff out there. But who is Jack Glasser? Well, I'm originally from Philadelphia. Was born in the Fairmount section of Philadelphia, and as I was explaining earlier, I was baptized at the St. Francis Xavier Church, which if you look at if you're standing on the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum and you look towards City Hall, on the left-hand side, there's a somewhat of a large church with spires coming up over the trees, and that's St. Francis Xavier, where where my mother and father were married.
Wow.
And we have still a picture of that hanging in our house of that. I lived in Philadelphia till I was 12. I also moved out to we were living out to the northeast, Roddenson and Cotman. And then my father decided, because he always had a love for the South Jersey Shore, and he moved us down here when I was 12. I went to Dawes Avenue School, and then St. Joe's. Went to Holy Spirit High School.
Okay.
And right after Holy Spirit, I joined the U.S. Air Force. I was in the U.S. Air Force for 4 years, active duty, stationed in northern Maine. And then over in England, I spent 2 years over at RAF Upper Hayford, which is was an air base right outside of the beautiful city of Oxford. Mm-hmm. And then when I came home in 1977, I spent 25 years with the Northfield Police, retiring in 2002 as a captain. I joined the Air National Guard right after coming home from active duty, and I spent another 20 years and retired as a Master Sergeant. I was with the great 177th Fighter Wing, the famed Jersey Devils out here at our Atlantic City International Airport. And of course, after I retired from Northfield Police, I taught at St. Joe's School in Summers Point as a phys ed teacher, and then moved on to my current position at Atlantic County Institute of Technology. About 13 years ago, I was asked to run for an unexpired term as a city councilman. So I did, and I was lucky enough to be elected, and spent about a year and a couple months as a councilman, and then I was asked to run for mayor. And so that was like 12 years ago, and I've been the mayor since, and I'm so honored to be the mayor of our great little city. Summers Point's just a unique place where we have so much to offer. We have a beautiful bayfront. We have great neighborhoods. We have a first-class hospital and Shore Medical Center. We have a first-class golf course in Great Bay. And then all the restaurants that, last night I was kicking off Oktoberfest at Gregory's.
Wow.
And I have a saying, when the Gregory family calls, I have to answer their call. But they asked me to come over, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years or so. But it was fun because I was sitting there, and I was just talking to the Gregory family, but people I worked with, people I grew up with. I ran into two gentlemen who I went to high school with.
Wow. At Holy Spirit.
At Holy Spirit back in the 70s. And then I ran into a lady whose father was my chief of police in Northfield. And then I ran into one of my other chiefs there. It's just, it's one of those things one of the things I love about being the mayor is getting out and talking to people and giving yourself. When I first ran or was going to run, I had a friend of mine say to me, if you're going to run for an elected office, you have to have that passion You have to have that fire inside of you to do what's right for the community. And that's the only thing that matters.
Absolutely.
Is getting out there and doing what's right. And politics, politics is a means to an end, using that old Jesuit saying. It's you use that to as an avenue to be elected, but after that, you have to sit down and think and be really set to the fact that you have to do what's right for your people and your community.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've prided myself with Summers Point. I love the point. I feel I have that passion and that fire inside of me to keep going. And I just, being a kid, we called ourselves Bay Rats when we were kids.
Bay Rats.
We used to live, all of us that lived like east of Route 9 were always down to
At the Bay.
At the Bay, at the Summers Point Beach, the Morrow Beach, where we have our beach concerts every Friday night during the summer. But
so it's not actually a beach.
It is a beach.
They say it's just a bay.
Well, there's sand there, right? So,
they're saying that because I was looking it up and I'm doing some history on Summers Point that I really didn't know. There is sand there.
There is sand there.
But technically, it's a bay, but it's like a beach. But
it's like a beach, but we call it our beach.
You call it your beach.
But there's some history to there.
Yes.
Because there's a monument. A lot of people just walk by that monument, but there's a monument at the end of New Jersey Avenue at the beach that is there during the War of 1812. There was a sand fort there. That because at that time Summers Point was a very big shipbuilding and area, and that sand fort, protected Great Egg Harbor Bay.
Absolutely, and we want to talk about that now. I did not know until I started looking it up, Mayor Glancer, that Summers Point, which was named after John Summers, who first settled in there in 1693.
Amazing.
It's the oldest. It's the oldest land in Atlantic County.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
And it was a borough.
Yes.
Right.
And a large part of that part of Atlantic County, the Summers owned.
Right.
I forget who they bought it off of, but they bought it off from a gentleman who owned a good part of this area. It was, I think, at one time we were all under, I guess the area of Gloucester.
Yeah, Gloucester County.
Gloucester County.
And it's a lot of that. I really didn't realize some of it was Egg Harbor Township.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Gloucester County. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in between was Summers Point. Now, your population in Summers Point is how much?
About 10,500 per the last census.
Mm-hmm.
But we, it's amazing our history when we go there. We, the Summers, of course, with our Summers Mansion, the first and the oldest home in Atlantic County, which it sits right there at the intersection of Shore Road and Route 52. And I always think that Mr. Summers built that because he knew that Summers Point Diner would be built across the street, and Diorio's. And I kid about that with the Exantakis family, who owned the diner. But I think it's such a goes back to our history with the Summerses, because you go back and then Colonel Richard Summers, who was the hero of Chestnut Neck, the Battle of Chestnut Neck, and during the Revolution. And then Richard Summers, who we still celebrate the day he died. Richard Summers was, of course, a descendant of John Summers. His grandson was a master commandant, which is now equivalent to a commander in the United States Navy during the Barbary Wars. And every year, around the first week of September, we meet at the Richard Summers Memorial, which is next to the Summers Point Library on Shore Road, to commemorate Richard Summers, because what he did was him and the crew of 13, there were 13 of them, sailed a boat into Tripoli Harbor
to try to break up the Barbary pirates who had sought refuge there because they were fighting them. The Barbary pirates were taking our ships and are making prisoners of our sailors, and we were, I think it was President Jefferson at the time was keeping us fighting them and looking out for our interests. When Richard Somers sailed the first USS Intrepid into Tripoli Harbor, and on the way in it exploded, and all lives were lost. Richard Somers and his crew, to include Henry Wadsworth, the uncle of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, are buried still in the Episcopal Cemetery in Tripoli. And that's one of the things we've, in Somers Point, people involved with bringing that crew back to the United States. And we've been at this, well, I've been the mayor for the last 12, and we've been for long times past that, working together trying to get the crew returned to the United States.
Wow.
And again, we're, you may not hear about our efforts all the time, but we're still doing things. There are people in Somers Point, Sally Hastings, our president of our historical society, Walter Gregory, Greg Sakura. There's so many of us. Chip Reed, who wrote a book about the Intrepid and what happened down there. It's just that we're all still working to bring them home. But that's part of Somers Point, so much the history in our little town.
Well, you know what? That's what I like, because most of the times when you go to like Philadelphia, San Francisco, or different places like that, they're very rich in their history. We do have a lot of history here in Atlantic County, and people sometimes they just don't know.
They just don't, and I drive down Shore Road every day, and I pass the Somers Memorial, and I look, and I'll look at the mansion. Of course, I go down the beach quite often because I love it down there. And again, I grew up on that beach, jumping off the end of the pier, and as a kid. But there's one thing about Somers Point is that we do keep really cherishing our history and what we have there, because it's what they built. I look at as being an elected official to take care of the problems that you have today. Okay, the things that come before you today, and you work on them and you do your very best. But you have to build for the future. And I think that's, to get back to our history, I think that's what John Somers did.
Absolutely.
I mean, he came to this little town, he found one of the best pieces of land that he could find in this area, and we're so lucky because, as the geography, we have a bayfront, but the land actually goes up on a hill, right, and it somewhat protect us. And you could see how back in the day they had that love for and need at that time for shipbuilding and trade for this area. It was a port of entry for many years.
For many, many years, up until maybe like the 1800s.
Yes.
It was a port of entry for them to bring things. So Somers Point, he must have been a powerful man. Somers Point Hospital must be named after John Somers. So it's just so much that's going on now. You're the 7th city in the county. I didn't know that.
Well,
I looked that up. Where did Somers Point rank?
Where did Somers Point rank? I always thought number 1, but I mean,
no,
but that's just me. But as far as yes, we.
You're number 7, and you 226 out of 566 municipalities in the state.
Wow.
That's where Somers Point landed.
It's funny. We have so much good about Atlantic County, and I was lucky enough to go to Holy Spirit and to meet people from all parts of Atlantic County. Like, my best friends were from Ocean City, Atlantic City, Egg Harbor Township. Back then, not that many people lived in the township. I had a friend in Absecon. It's just, Brigantine. We went all over the county, but it gave me an appreciation for the entire county of what we have here. And, from Hamilton to Atlantic City, from Brigantine to Buna, we have such a great area here. It's just that I'm so lucky that I'm the mayor of our little town that has so much to offer. A beautiful bayfront. Again, we have so much.
Well, there's 8 reasons to visit why you should visit Summers Point. But before we go off, we have and take a commercial break. Now, I did look at the crime rate in Summers Point. It's a little high.
Yes.
And why is that?
Oh, there's a number of reasons why there's so much traffic coming through town at any given time. But we have a great police department led by Chief Robert Summers, and it's...
he's a Summers.
He's a Summers. I don't know whether he's, Summers, you can't get rid of him. But they're Chief Bobby Summers, who I've known since he was a young man.
So it's a possibility he's a descendant of General Summers.
Don't know about that. I know Dean Summers, who lives in Galloway, is the definite descendant, but I don't know whether Bobby is. But as far as Summers Point's crime rate, we do try. I mean, there's so many things that we do proactively in our community policing. And, let's face it, in law enforcement, there are many ways you can go about.
How large is your police department?
30.
30.
So, but at any given time, I don't want to talk about numbers publicly, but we do have a great force out there that tries their best, but they look at different things. We have our community policing efforts where we're reaching out to the community, and that's one of the things Atlantic City's done for many years, and most of the communities in this area do with law enforcement, is reaching out to the community first and trying to stop things before they happen. And that's what we're doing. We have Trunk or Treat coming up, where everyone can come to City Hall. I'm going to look up the date while we're on break, but it's in a few weeks, and everyone can come to City Hall and come out in your costumes, etc., the young children. And
it always seems safe, But so I was kind of surprised when I saw it on the website. I mean, you don't hide anything. You're very transparent.
We try to be, and that's the whole thing. We try to be very transparent when things happen. But things happen. And,
sure.
Being in the military would have a somewhat of a gated community. You had a fence around the air base. You didn't let anybody in that couldn't come in. But here you have open communities, right, where anyone can come in, and anyone that if you present somebody with the opportunity to commit a crime, some people will, and that's a shame. But we try to do our best to in the many assets of law enforcement, from patrol, preventive patrol, to community policing, to traffic enforcement, to stem the tide of those that want to go out and do things. And we try to take those, you have the opportunity, you have the means, et cetera, from a crime. You try to take the opportunity away from them.
Absolutely. Well, we're talking with Mayor Jack Glancer, the mayor of Summers Point. We're getting ready for a break. We'll be right back. Keep those dials locked to WEHA in the community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon.
Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM. WEHA, We Have Gospel, proudly celebrates its 10-year anniversary, spreading the gospel one song at a time from 2009 to 2019 and beyond. To God be the glory.
This is your girl, Vicki Winans, and you're listening to Gospel 88.7 WEHA.
Yo, what it do, fam? It's your homie, D. Hattie, the Moon Man himself. Y'all know me. It's Dietrich Haddon, hanging out right here on WEHA.
Praise God, everybody. Ty Tribbett here.
What's up, family? It's your boy, Jay Moss, better known as Just James.
Hey there, this is Erica from Mary Mary.
And I'm Tina.
What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Fred Hammond.
Hi, this is Donnie McClurkin.
Yo, this is your boy, Marvin Sapp.
What's up, Gospel people? This is your boy, Kirk Franklin. You're checking that right now on WEHA Gospel, y'all.
WEHA.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA.
WEHA, spreading the gospel.
WEHA. Gospel 88.7.
We're spreading the gospel one, and I mean one song at a time.
88.7, spreading spreading the gospel one song at a time.
WEHA, We Have Gospel, proudly celebrates its 10-year anniversary.
This is Ricky Dillard, founder of the New Generation Chorale, and you're listening to WEHA.
What's up, everybody? This is Smokey Norfolk, and you're listening to WEHA.
What's up, family? It's your boy, Bashawn Mitchell, and you're listening to WEHA.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Bell Armstrong, and I'm with WEHA.
This is Isaac Curry, and you're listening to WEHA.
Hi, this is Dorothy Norwood, and you're listening to WEHA.
What's good, people? This is your boy Molly Music right here, and you're listening to WEHA Gospel.
Hi, I'm Marvin Winans, and you're listening to Gospel 88.7 WEHA, spreading the gospel one song at a time.
WEHA, We Have Gospel, proudly celebrates its 10-year anniversary, spreading the gospel one song at a time, from 2009 to 2019 and beyond. To God be the glory.
Do you have an event coming up and need a facility? Well, let me tell you about Atlantic County's newest banquet facility, Beacon Hall, located in the heart of Egg Harbor City, right off the Whitehorse Pike. Beacon Hall is a full-service banquet facility that is 5,000 square feet with an attached parking lot. Book your conferences, book signings, birthday parties, bridal showers, baby showers, weddings, repasts. No event is too big or too small. You can book your next event by calling us at 609-965-4255 or email us at bookbeaconhall@gmail.com. That's BOOKBEACONHALL @gmail.com. Try Beacon Hall, where we turn moments into cherished memories. Would you like to hear your company or church announcements or church broadcast on the airwaves of WHA? You can call our business office at 609-641-8870 for further details.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel. 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel, and this broadcast is being brought to you by the Hawks family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories, and also God's Gift, which is a division of Kingdom Academy. So I want to thank all of my sponsors for the month of September, and we are going to continue our conversation. Me and Mayor Jack Glasser. I done said it right. Why I'm calling you Glasser from Summers Point. And he's live in the studio today. Certainly, if you would like to call in, you can. 609-641-8870. I also have some tickets that I want to give away. Black Girls That Rock has donated some tickets. And certainly, if you want to win these tickets, I need you to call in. This is going to be held on October the 11th. I'm going to give out 2 tickets today on my show and 2 tickets on next week. So, if you would like to go to Black Girls Rock, I need you to call me in at 609-641-8870. And the first caller who calls in will receive those tickets. All right, but right now we're talking with Mayor Glasser, and we're going to continue. And he is the mayor of Summers Point and has been there for 12 years. And I wanted to bring something different to my listening audience. We always do Atlantic City, Pleasantville. Sometimes I do Hamilton Township, and I've done Buna. But Summers Point, we have 23 municipalities in our county, over about 275,000 residents. And Summers Point is a small section of it, but they do a whole lot of things in Summers Point. So I wanted to make sure my listening audience knew what was going on in Summers Point. Now, Mayor Glasser, there are 8 reasons to visit Summers Point. What are they?
Gee, Thelma, I don't have the list in front of me. I think you do.
What?
but there's so many reasons, and I could probably think of more than just 8. First of all, Shore Medical Center,
right.
One of the great places to visit, and the best healthcare anywhere. Our iconic restaurants, our up and down, and and I'm not going to name them all because
Right.
I would probably miss one or two, but we have so much to offer there. Our fabulous Bayfront, where we have so much going on down at the Bay, and include Bayfront. We talk a little bit about the beach, but there are so many things that go on at the beach
What
throughout
happens?
the year. I mean, the beach has our Friday night beach concerts.
Every Friday.
Every Friday night during the summer, starting in June and goes right through to the first week in September. And it's some of the best music. And I only live a few blocks off the beach, and I walk down. And it's just great, and everyone gets to meet. You bring a chair with you, a lawn chair, and just sit back and relax and enjoy. And then, when you're done there, you can go and have something to eat at the many restaurants we have. And right next to the beach, something else, is the great Gateway Theater that we are so proud of. Gateway Theater was recently rebuilt. It opened a couple years ago, but we did it through, of course, donations because the city actually owns that property, but we leased it out for $1 a year to the Summers Point or the South. I always get tongue twisted with this, so bear with me. South Jersey Theater Collaborative.
Okay.
And they run all the concert and plays that go on there. But we got grants from the state to help us with that.
Oh.
Not only that, we had a bunch of volunteers in there trying to help. I remember going over there, and half of our city council's in there painting. Councilman Denny Tapp, Sean McGuigan, Jimmy Toto, they were all in there painting. Kirk Garrity, they were all painting, helping out. And so many other people volunteered to help that out. But it brings another piece to Summers Point, the Gateway Theater.
Wow.
And
I got to go over there. Now, I've never been over there.
You've got to go in. They're online. They're all the plays. They have plays throughout the year. And then right down the street from there, right next to Summers Point Beach, we recently had a ribbon cutting for our new Summers Point Marina. We owned the old Rays Pier, which was right next to Summers Point Beach, and through grants through the federal government and the state, we redid that whole dock. Now, you've heard of the Duke of Fluke, the award-winning fishing boat in South Jersey. The Duke of Fluke has a lease from the city of Summers Point to dock there. But we got this grant to dredge first and to take the dredgings and put them out along Summers Point Mays Landing Road west of the Garden State Parkway and put in brand new docks and a building down there.
Wow.
So now, and it's like a transit marina. People can come in and they're out in their boat. They want to pull in. They want to go to a restaurant. They want to go to the Gateway Theater. They want to do whatever, walk along Bay Avenue. They can pull in there and dock. Right? It's not for permanent moorings.
It's just for the day.
Just for the day or overnight. Say you're traveling from up the coast, and you want to pull in, right? You want to have a deep water docking area, and we have that. So there will be electric, there'll be water, etc. As soon as the project is finished, and we have that.
Wow, now I didn't know that. Of course, I don't own a boat.
Yeah,
but if I did, I could get in my boat and ride on over to Summers Point, get off, have dinner, and get back on the boat and leave.
And we hope in the future to have a water taxi between us and Ocean City.
Wow.
And it was something else. And, what's the line from Eddie and the Cruisers? The guy who was their manager, he said, Doc's a dreamer. The world needs a dreamer. I say that for a couple people in Summers Point, and one, my friend Greg Sikora. But you have to have a dream, you have to have a vision, and Summers Point has that vision.
Well, one thing Summers Point also has is free parking.
We do have a lot of free on Bay Avenue.
Oh, yeah, it's free parking because that was a lot of complaints with people who would come to the shore I mean, there was no place to park, or the parking was astronomical. But Summers Point has ample free parking.
We have 2 city lots, one actually 3, excuse me, one right next to the beach, one across from the Gateway Theater, and one a little bit further down on Bay Avenue, down at Summers Avenue. But again, during the summer, when people are coming down, when you have the best restaurants in South Jersey, again, I'm allowed to get away with saying that.
Yeah, but, there's a poor frog that doesn't praise his own pond.
That's right. But sometimes it's just not enough parking. But we're so fortunate the things we have. I think that when John Summers settled there, he knew what he was doing. Like I said, that he found a pristine area, and we're so lucky. And again, the whole thing is improving on what we have. There's a vision out there to someday put a bay walk in there.
Really? So you can walk along the bay?
Walk along the bay from, say, the hospital down to the bridge. Now, I walk the bike path a lot because the path is right behind my house. And you can literally walk from Linwood through Summers Point, down to Summers Mansion, cross at Route 52, cross Shore Road, go under the Ocean City Bridge, come out on the other side of it, and walk to Ocean City.
Now that I didn't know.
That you can do, and there's a fishing pier down there, and that's another reason to visit Summers Point. Now, the Garden State Parkway, redid their bridges over Great Egg Harbor going south. They have included a pedestrian and bike path.
Really?
But the glitch there is that the roads leading up to the Garden State Parkway. Remember, you used to be able to go south on Route 9 and past Summers Point, Lumbo, and Urco, and go over, and you would go on the Beasley's Point Bridge. Well,
right.
Beasley's Point Bridge fell into really bad times with disrepair, et cetera, and they tore it down. Actually, the Turnpike Authority tore it down in conjunction with this property, but they built this new bridge over the Great Egg Harbor Bay, and they built this pedestrian path. But the roads leading up to that, we still have to make some improvements, and we're working with the state, not only the Turnpike Authority, because the Turnpike Authority obviously is different than the Department of Transportation. They're two different state agencies. We're working with them. We're also working to improve Route 9 from Summers Point Mays Landing Road through Laurel Drive along what we call the S-curves by the golf course.
Right.
And where there's going to be a sidewalk put in there.
Because that's very narrow coming
That
in.
is very narrow and a little dangerous. So we want that because we have school children to go back and forth to Jordan Road. And we want that to be safe.
Yeah, that needs to be improved.
And we are in the process of that. We have a great city engineer and Greg Snyder from Mott, and he's
working on it.
Working on that. We have the grants. They're in the process of getting.
How do you get all these grants?
You know what, and I'll speak a little bit about that. We have a gentleman by the name of Jim Rotallo, who's our city planner and great grant writer, and boy, is he good. He brings in some money, and the whole thing is, Thelma, is defraying the cost from the taxpayer. Okay, we have these improvements that have to be made. If we footed the bill ourselves, we'd have to give it to our taxpayers. But since we're reaching out and getting these grants, right, the taxpayers don't, well, we have to pay a little bit, but nothing to the extent of what would have to be put out there. Like something like that, that's less than a mile, but still, all those sidewalks are be up in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
To do, because we all know that pouring concrete isn't cheap. So, but we're doing that again because we got the grants.
Then let me ask you this: the grants now, because sometimes in different municipalities they would go get the grants, like the fire department. They in Atlantic City they get grants, but it's only for a certain amount of time, and then after that time you have to be able to sustain from
Right.
from the grant. Now, with those grants, are they a one-time grant, or is it a grant that's continuous?
Well, this is just a one-time grant to get the sidewalks done.
Right.
Same thing with a few years ago, Laurel Drive, which is exit 30 on the Garden State Parkway.
Right.
Right, goes through Summers Point, and the road was in pretty disrepair. We applied to the Department of Transportation and the Turnpike Authority to help us because it was their idea to put exit 30 there. Well, of course, we wanted it. We want the people to get there. You know what? They decided that many years ago, before I would even move to Summers Point, they decided to have exit 30 there, and we're kind of happy with it because we want people to come to Summers Point. But it really, it has the most traffic on any municipal street in our town.
Wow.
So at first they turned us down, and then between the city engineer and myself, we wrote some letters to the commissioner of the Department of Transportation, and they came out and helped us
Wow.
with another grant, a $260,000 grant to pave that and to reinforce that street. But like you said, that was a one-time thing. Now we're down the road, we're going to have to look at that eventually
Right.
to get more repairs. But that's, as I said earlier in the show, in the interview, my job is to work on the things, remember the health, safety, and welfare of the town.
I was just getting ready to ask you
Yeah.
that. What actually was your responsibility? Now, there's 7 council people.
There are 7 council.
One person is stepping down, I think.
One
There's
person has stepped down.
Stepped down.
Councilman Ronnie Meisker moved down to town, and we appointed a lovely person, Janice Johnston.
So that seat is
fulfill
up.
That right. So she's appointed till November election. She has to run
Okay.
by our state law, and she is running for re-election coming up. But we have what our form of government is: strong council, strong legislative, weak mayor. In other words, I don't have
Weak mayor.
I don't have a vote on anything. I can
you veto?
I can veto, right, and I can vote in the event of a tie.
Right, but that's the only thing you can
That's
do.
the only thing I can do legislatively as far as laws go within the town, which I'm okay with, but sometimes. But I love being the mayor at Summers Point because, as we talked earlier, I get to be out and putting the best face on Summers Point.
So you are Mr. Summers, but not John Summers.
No, I don't know about. No, I think there are a lot of other people that are, Greg Gregory, and but there was. I just.
You love your job.
I do love being the mayor. There were times when I think about it for a minute, but there were. I love being out there trying to help the people and doing our very best for Summers Point.
What actually is your responsibility as mayor, though?
To make sure that the ordinances that the city council passes are put into effect, and I do that through our city administration. I oversee the police department, but yet I have no control over the police department. Through New Jersey Title 40, the police
Right.
chief runs that police department.
And if you're not careful,
Oh.
which I know you can be sued.
Oh, you can be charged, and et cetera. I have had different conversations with different city solicitors over the years on my responsibility. But you got to remember, my background is I was a police officer for the city of Northfield for 25 years. I was a captain. I was actually the executive officer for the department. I ran the day-to-day operations. So I knew exactly what. And I know that there are some towns that, the kind of pushes that envelope a little bit. But my theory is this. I've been out of law enforcement since 2002. The folks that are running it now, right, Chief Bob Summers and his crew, right, know what's going on right now
Right.
as far as the current laws, et cetera. They keep up with it. They're very good at what they do. It's just that my interference with that police department is very minimum. They come to me for help when they need it. But chief keeps me informed of what's going on in town. As far as you mentioned crime, when things do happen in town, I get the call from the chief, and we discuss it. We meet at least once or twice a week, sometimes more, depending on the situation. But I've always had that relationship with our chiefs of police because it's proper, and that's the way. And we also have a city administrator for the rest of the town, who is Wes Swain, and William E. Swain is his real name is, I guess. But Wes was a former council president and is very well versed in government. You got to remember that when people run for office, it takes them a while to get really a good working knowledge on how municipal government runs.
You got to get acclimated into the position.
And there's so much of a learning curve.
Oh, I know.
To learn what all is going on with your municipality. I was fortunate that I spent 25 years in municipal government and understood, the different aspects of what goes on and how the council works as far as the mayor, et cetera. But again, I'm so fortunate right now. We have a great city council. Council President Sean McGuigan, a good friend of mine, and Philadelphia Eagles fan.
So, that was a good game.
He actually called me the other day, and he goes, I won't be at council tonight. This is Thursday. And I said, okay. He said, I'm going to Green Bay. I went, what? Going to Green Bay. So can I come? But that was a great game the other night.
It was a great game. Listen, we have a couple minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would you like to leave with my listening audience?
Well, I just want to, you said it best, and I want to follow up, is get involved, right? Especially, we have a very important vote coming up, but all votes are important. Absolutely. And it's one of those rights that we get in the Constitution to vote.
Absolutely.
And we, if you don't like what's going on in your town, go out and vote. Okay? But also, don't just take what's happening in November every year.
Exactly.
Get involved in your town, right? Get out there and engage your elected officials.
Absolutely.
And talk to them all the time. If you have a problem, people have, I know people call me and say, hey, I have a problem here, I have a problem there, and I welcome that, right? Because I may not be able to fix it because one of my faults is I'm very honest, and I won't tell somebody that I can do something unless I'm absolutely sure I can do it.
Right.
So, but the bottom line is I think people should get involved and engage your elected officials and talk to them. If you don't like what's going on in your town, talk to them.
Hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Don't do a petition.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Hold them
accountable. That's what you want to do, and that's my last thought. But be involved in your towns, no matter what, whether it's cleaning up, whether it's being on the fire department, doing it involved, because we're all mostly volunteer fire departments in this part of New Jersey.
You have a volunteer fire department?
We do have 2 fire companies in town, and I'm very happy with them. Matter of fact, we just bought them. We were lucky enough, we're going out on bids for bonds for 3 fire trucks that we need. Right, because again, we have the hospital, we have other buildings in town, but we have 2 great fire companies led by our city chief right now is Chief Mike Sweeney and Chief Jimmy Summers, another Summers.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Mayor Summers, Jack Glassers. I haven't called you Summers. Mayor Jack Glasser.
Part of Summers Point.
Part of Summers Point.
Yeah.
For being a part of my program on today. Thank you so much for consenting to come when I asked you. Did you enjoy our program today?
I love being here, Thelma. I mean, I just want to leave with this. The other day, a couple of weeks ago, when I saw you walking the hallway and that great smile, and you can't turn down Thelma's great smile. So
time's up.
Time's up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For tuning in the community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. Again, I want to thank Mayor Jack Glasser II for being a part of my radio program today and letting us know what's going on in Summers Point. Now, I don't know about y'all. but I got to get down to the theater. I got to see what's going on at the theater. I don't have to go all the way to Philadelphia to see or New York to see what's going on. We got to get to Summers Point and look at the theater. If you have a boat, bring it right on into the bay and go out and have a great meal. All right. Again, did you enjoy our program today? I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. See you on next week. Keep those dials locked to WEHA.